ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानामेकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्तां च सम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹர ஹரோஹரா. லோகவீர்யம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யஹம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாபிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्ख कौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचर गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन्। हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्री गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलाधरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പീരേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കുന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good evening, everyone. Okay, we'll do a quick review of 38. Soumya, can you do 38?
Krishnavatar Varnanam. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. आनन्दरूप भगवन्नैतेवतारे प्राप्ते प्रदीप्त निरीयमानैः कान्तिव्रजैरिव घनाघनमण्डलेठाम् आवृण्वति विररुचे किल वर्षवेला आशासु शीतलतरासु पयोदतोयैः आशासिताप्ति विवशेषु च सज्जनेषु नैषाकरो दयविदौ निशिमध्यमायां क्लेशापहस्त्रिजगदां त्वमिह विरासीः बाल्यस्पृशा
Can you do the in between thing also, the Narayana Antamadbhudam?
नारायण 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 तमद्भुतं बालकमम्बुजेक्षणं चतुर्भुजं शङ्खगदायुधायुधं श्रीवत्सलक्ष्मं गलशोभिकौस्तुभं पीताम्बरं सान्द्रपयोदशौभगं महार्हवैढूर्यकिरीटकुण्डलद्विषा परिष्वक्त सहस्र कुन्तलम् उद्धामकाञ्च यडगड
काञ्च्यङ्गद
उद्धामकाञ्च्यङ्गड गद कङ्कणादिभिः विरोचमानं वसुदेव ऐक्षत बाल्यस्पृशापि वपुषा ददुषा विभूतिः उत्किरीटकटकाङ्गद हारभासा शङ्खारिवारिज गदा परिभासितेन मेघासितेन परिलेसित सूतिगेः.
The second line, first word, Udyat. There's a it you forgot. Okay, Udyat.
Correct.
Keep going.
Correct. Yeah. Udyat Kirita. Correct. You're right. Vakshasthali Sukhanilina Vilasi Lakshmi Mandaksha Lakshita Kataksha Vimoksha Bhedaihi Tanmandirasya Kalakamsa Kritam Unmarjayanniva Virejita Vasudeva Sauristugira Munimandala Chetasopi Duristitam Durastitam Vapuram Dikshya Nijekshanabhyam Ananda Bhashpa Pulakoda இது எப்பவுமே கொஞ்சம்
Pulakod Gama Gad Gadardraha.
Pulakod Gad Gama Gadardraha.
Gama Gad Gadardraha.
Gama Gad Gadardraha Tushtavadrushti Makarandara Sambhavantam.
The second line, second word matto Vapuru Dikshya. Vapuru Dikshya. Okay.
Deva Prasida Purapurusha Tapavalli Nirnu Nadatra Samanetra Kala Vilasin Kedan Pakuru Kripa Guru Bhakta Katakshahi Ityaditena Muditena Chiram Nuto Bhuhu.
First line, Deva Prasida Parapurusha. Just say that first 3 words.
Deva Prasida Parapurushatapavali.
Okay. And then the third line, Kripa Gurubih Katakshahi.
Gurubih. So on the emphasis.
Yeah, ada. Khedana Pakuru Kripa Gurubih Katakshahi. Okay.
Okay. Matra Chanetra Salilastrita Gatravalya Strotrairabhishtuta Gunah Karunalayastvam Prachi Matru Giradadita Manusha Balavesham Tatpreritastadanu nandatanu jayate vyatya samara chayutum sahi shuna sunuhu tvam hastayoradhrita chitvidharya mayaihi amboruhasta kalahamsa kishora ramyam.
And small correction. Second line, last word, Shura Sunuhu.
Okay.
Okay.
Shura Sunuhu.
And then third line, like Chitta, and the double the coming Chitta. Okay.
Okay. Jata.
Sorry. And ஒரு இடத்துல Tvam hastayor அந்த லைன் இன்னொரு வாட்டி சொல்ல முடியுமா யாரனா?
Yeah. Tvam hastayor adhrita chitta vidharyamaryehi.
Okay. Thank you.
Jata tada purushagni
Pashupa.
Sorry. Jata tada pashupas
Sadman.
Okay. Jata tada purushadmani yoga nidra mudritama thakrita pauralokam tvat preranat kimiva chitram Nairyad. Okay.
Yeah.
Chitram acheta nairyad. Dvarai swayam vyaghati sangatitai sugadam.
And the first line, Pashupa Sadmani, right? You said Purusha or something.
Amma. You correct Pashupa sonne. Correct.
Pashupa Sadmani. Okay.
Pashupa Sadmani.
Yeah. Okay.
Sheshena bhuri panavarita varinatha svairam pradarshita pato manidipitena tvam gharayan sakhalu dhanyatamav pratasthe soyam tvamisha mama nashaya roga vegan.
Krishna Brahmane. Good. Sudha, can you do 69?
ஒரே ஒரு தடவை ராகம் மட்டும் சொல்லுங்க.
Okay, என்னோட ஸ்ருதி எல்லாம் நீங்க அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. because mine might be different.
ஒரே நிமிஷம் நானே ட்ரை பண்றேன். கேசபாஷத்ருத பிஞ்சிகா விததி சஞ்சலம் மகர குண்டலம் हारजालवनमालिका ललितमङ्गरागगन सौरभं पीतचेलधृत काञ्चित मुदञ्जदंशुमणिनूपुरं रासकेलि परिभूषितं तव हि रूपमीश कलयामहे.
The third line of chinna correction, and don't say mudhanchata, right? I mean, you said pita chela drita kanchi kanchita mudhanchata, you said, but it is don't break it like that. Since you break it at that im pita chela drita kanchi kanchida mudhanchadam, because udhanchadam, it's not either you say it together, but if you're pausing there, pause at that im and then say udhanchadam.
Okay.
Okay.
तावदेव कृतमण्डने कलितकञ्चुलीककुचमण्डले घण्डलोलमणिकुण्डले युवतिमण्डले तपरिमण्डले अन्तरा सकलसुन्दरी युगलमिन्दिरा रमणसञ्चरन् मञ्जुलां ददनुरासकेलि मञ्जुलां तदनुरासकेलिमयि कञ्चनाभसमुपाददाः वासुदेव तव भासमानमिह रासकेलिरससौरभं दूरतोऽपि खलु नारदा गदित माकलय्य कुतुकाकुला.
Even there, instead of saying makalaya gaditam akalaya kutukakula.
எங்க சொல்றேன்?
Second line la duratopi khalu narada gatitham akalaya kutukakula.
Okay.
Okay.
அந்த மாவை வந்து இம்ம பிளஸ் ஆன் சொல்றேன்.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. वासुदेव तव भासमानमिह रासकेलिरससौरभं दूरतोऽपि खलु नारदा गदितम् आकलय्य कुतुकाकुला वेशभूषण विलासपेशल विलासिनी शतसमावृता नाकतो युगपदागता वियति वेगदोत सुरमण्डली वेणुनाद कृत धान धान कल घान राग गतियोजना लोभनीय मृदुपाद पात कृत थाल मेलन मनोहरं पाणि संक्वणित कंकणञ्च मुकुरं स लंबित कराम्बुजं श्रोणि बिंब जलधंबरं भजत रासकेलिरसढंबरं श्रद्धया विरचितानुगान कृत थार थार मधुरस्वरे नर्तने तललितांगहार लुलितांगहार मणिभूषणे सम्मलेन कृत पुष्पवर्षमलमुन्निषद्दि विशदांकुलं चिन्मये त्वयि निलीयमानमिव सम्मुमोह सवदूकुलम् स्विन्न सन्न तनु वल्लरी तदनु कापि नाम पशुपांगना कांतमं समवलंबते स्म तव तांति भार मुकुलेक्षणा काचिदाचलित कुंतला नवपटीररा सार घन सौरभं वंचनेन तव संचुचुंब भुज मंचितोरु पुलकांगुरा पुलकांगुरा कापि गंडभुवि सन्निधाय निज गंडमाकुलित कुंडलं पुण्यपूरनिधिरन्व पाप तव पूगचर्वितर समामृतं पूगचर्वितर सामृतम् इंदिरा विहृति मंदिरं भुवन सुंदरं हि नटनान्तरे त्वामवाप्य ददुरंगना किमुन सम्मदोन्मद दशान्तरम् गानमीश विरतं क्रमेण किल वाद्यमेलन उपारतं ब्रह्म सम्मदरसाकुला सदसि केवलं नृतुरंगनाः नाविदन्नपि च नीविकां किमपि कुन्तलीमपि च कञ्चुलीं ज्योतिषामपि कदम्बकं दिवि विलम्बितं किमपरं ब्रुवे मोदसीं निभुवनं विलाप्य विकृतिं समाप्य च ततो विभो केलि समृदित निर्मलाङ्गनव धर्मलेश शुभगात्मनां मन्मथा सहन चेतसां पयोषितां सुकृतचोदितः तावदा कलितमूर्तिराददितमारवीर परमोत्सवान्
I think we stopped at 9, right? Yeah. Good. Okay, we can finish 10 and 11. So Vikram, you and Prabha can be students first half. Second half, Radha, you and Kannan can be students. Okay. So stanza 10. केलिभेद परिलोलिताभिरति लालिताभिरबलालिभिः स्वैरमीशननुसूरजापयसि चारुनाम विहृतिं व्यधाः काननेऽपि च विसारि शीतलकिशोरमारुतमनोहरे सूनसौरभमये विलेसितविलासिनी शतविमोहनम्. So केलि भेद परि लोलिताभिरति लालिताभिर balalibihi. So first is lolitabhirati, then lalitabhir balalibihi, comma swairamisha nanu suraja payasi charu nama vihritim vyadhaha. केलि भेद परिलोलिता भिरति लालिता भिरबलालिभिः स्वैरमीशननुसूरजापयसि चारुनाम विहृतिं व्यधाः.
केलि भेद परिलोलिता भिरति लालिता भिरबलालिभिः स्वैरमीशननुसूरजापयसि चारुनाम विहृतिं व्यधाः. केलि भेद परिलोलिता भिरति लालिता भिरबलालिभिः स्वैरमीशननुसूरजापयसि चारुनाम विहृतिं व्यधाः.
केलिभेद परिलोलिताभिरति लालिताभिरबिला बलालिभिः स्वैरमेशननुसूरजापयसि चारुनाम विहृतं व्यदाः. केलिभेद परिलोलिताभिरति लालिताभिरबलालिभिः स्वैरमीशननुसूरजापयसि चारुनाम विहृतिं व्यदाः.
काननेऽपि च विसारि शीतल किशोर मारुत मनोहरे, कॉमा सून सौरभमये विलेसित विलासिनी शत विमोहनम्. काननेऽपि च विसारि शीतल किशोर मारुत मनोहरे सूनसौरभमये विलेसित विलासिनी शत विमोहनम्.
काननेऽपि च विसारि शीतल किशोर मारुत मनोहरे सूनसौरभमये विलेसित विलासिनी शत विमोहनम्. काननेऽपि च विसारि शीतल किशोर मारुत मनोहरे सूनसौरभमये विलेसित विलासिनी शत विमोहनम्.
काननेऽपि च विसारि शीतल किशोर मारुत मनोहरे सूनसौरभमये विलेसित विलासिनी शत विमोहनम्. काननेऽपि च विसारि शीतल किशोर मारुत मनोहरे सूनसौरभमये विलेसित विलासिनी शत विमोहनम्.
Last stanza. कामिनीरितिः यामिनीषु खलु कामनीयकनिधे भवान् पूर्णसम्मदरसार्णवं कमपि योगी गम्यमनुभावयन् ब्रह्मशङ्करमुकानपीह पशुपाङ्गनासु बहुमानयन् भक्तलोकगमनीय रूपकमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्. So kaminiriti hi yaminishu khalu kamaniya kanidhe bhavan, comma, purna sammada rasarnavam kamapi yogi gamyam anubhavayan. कामिनीरितिः यामिनीषु खलु कामनीयकनिधे भवान् पूर्णसम्मदरसार्णवं कमपि योगी गम्यमनुभावयन्.
कामिनीरितिः यामिनीषु खलु कामनीयकनिधे भवान् पूर्णसम्मदरसार्णवं कमपि योगगम्यमनुभावयन्. योगिगम्यमनुभावयन्. कामिनीरितिः यामिनीषु खलु कामनीयकनिधे भवान् पूर्णसम्मदरसार्णवं कमपि योगिगम्यमनुभावयन्.
कामिनीरितिः यामिनीषु खलु कामनीयकनिधे भवान् पूर्णसम्मदरसार्णवं कमपि योगी गम्यमनुभावयन्. कामिनीरितिः यामिनीषु खलु कामनीयकनिधे भवान् पूर्णसम्मदरसार्णवं कमपि योगी गम्यमनुभावयन्.
ब्रह्म शंकर मुखान पीह पशु पांगनासु बहुमानयन, भक्त लोक गमनीय रूप कमनीय कृष्ण. First is a ga, next is a kha. Gamaniya Rupa Kamaniya Krishna Paripahima. So that last line we'll say it 3 times. Okay. So when you guys are repeating it, just say the last, say it 3 times, but say the whole thing only 1 time. You don't have to say it 2. Brahma Shankara Mukana Piha Pashupangana Subahumanayan Bhaktaloka Gamaniya Rupa Kamaniya Krishna Paripahima. Bhaktaloka Gamaniya Rupa Kamaniya Krishna Paripahima. Bhaktaloka Gamaniya Rupa Kamaniya Krishna Paripahima.
ब्रह्मशङ्करमुखानपीह पशुपाङ्गनासु बहुमानयन् भक्तलोकगमनीयरूपकमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्. भक्तलोकगमनीयरूपकमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्. भक्तलोकगमनीयरूपकमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्.
ब्रह्मशङ्करमुखानपीह पशुपाङ्गनासु बहुमानयन् भक्तलोकगमनीय रूपकमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्. भक्तलोकगमनीय रूपकमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्. भक्तलोकगमनीय रूपकमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. So just in the last stanza, Bhartripad is telling that the happiness and the bliss that the Gopikas experienced, even the yogis or even Brahma and Shiva cannot even contemplate how they could actually attain that level of happiness, right, with you, which the gopis actually experienced. So that Krishna who Bhakta Loka Ghamaniya Rupa, you who's only accessible easily to your devotees, oh, that Krishna, please eradicate or please protect me, is what Bhartripad is saying. So he's not even, normally he says, eradicate my ailments, say, remove all the diseases. Yes, yes, Paripahimam, oh, that Krishna, please protect me. With that, he ends this chapter. So we'll now jump into 98. So 98 is kind of like a, it's Nishkala Brahmopasana. It's Upasana. It means you meditate on it, right? That's the essentially meaning of this, right? but it's also kind of considered like a namaskara sloka, right? So like in Devi Matmyam, we have the 5th chapter, we have the namaskara slokam. So similarly here, 10 stanzas. So when we're doing a normal parayanam, you do 10 namaskarams at the end of every stanza, because at the end of every stanza, it will be like namaste, I bow to you, or I meditate to you, I pray to you. It will end like that. Okay, each of these stanzas in this. So I'll tell the meaning as well on this. So stanza 1. Yasmin etat vibhatam yata idam abhavate yena chedam yayetat yosmad uttirna rupaha khalu sakalamidam bhasitam yasya bhasa yo vacham dura dure punarapi manasam yasya deva munindraha no vidyus tattva rupam kimu punarapare krishna tasmai namaste. So here, just like how it started off in the first stanza, right? Sandranandava. So Bhaktipad is again saying the same thing here. He's saying that you, the Brahman, from which the universe has come, because of which the universe exists, eventually into which the universe merges, right? And then he says, you are the universe itself, but you are also beyond the universe. You are not just what is there, but it's also you're indescribable, right? You are beyond that universe, and which yo vacham dura dure. So even if somebody wants to start describing you, they cannot describe you because it's so far away from people's description that they cannot even describe you. And even, which is very similar to what we learned in the first stanza, right? And even manasa, even if they want to think, right? Deva and Munindraha, so all the gods and the sages, even if they want to contemplate on you, they find it very hard to describe you and understand your true sense. So even when they cannot, then kimu punarapare, what about the rest of us mortals? But people are saying even they cannot understand, people like us cannot understand at all, but doesn't matter. To that Krishna, my salutations, right? Namaste, I bow to that Krishna. Yasmin netat vibhatam, so double na coming there. Yasmin netat vibhatam yata idam abhavat. So that dia, die that you have there, first put a it and then a comma. Idam abhavat, comma. Next word starts with a ye. Yena chedam ya yetat. Put a it again and then a comma. So idam abhavat, comma, chet yetat, comma. Next line, the dyo becomes a yo. So yosmad uttirna rupaha, comma, khalu sakalamidam bhasitam yasya bhasa. Yasmin etad vibhatam yata idam abhavate yena chedam yayetat yosmad uttirna rupaha khalu sakalamidam bhasitam yasya bhasa.
यस्मिन्नेतद् विभातं यत इदम् अभवत् येन चेदं य एतत् योऽस्मादुत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भासा.
And Vikram, on the second line, yosmad uttirna rupaha, you can break like that. Okay, and then after rupaha, there is a comma there.
उत्तीर्ण रूपः यस्मिन्नेतद् विभातं यत इदम् अभवत् येन चेदं य एतत् योऽस्मात् उत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भासा.
यस्मिन्नेतद्विभातं यत इदम् अभवत् येन चेदं यतेतत् योऽस्मादुत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भास्या.
Prabha, on the first line, chedam ya yetat, ya yetat. And then the second line, last word is bhasa. There is no ya there. Okay.
यस्मिन्नेतद्विभातं यत इदम् अभवत् येन चेदं य एतत् योऽस्मादुत्तीर्णरूपः खलु सकलमिदं भासितं यस्य भासा.
Yo vacham dura dure, comma, punarapi manasam yasya deva munindraha, comma, no vidyus tat twarupam. Okay, two it's coming there. Tat twarupam kimu punarapare, comma, Krishna tasmai namaste. Yo vacham dura dure punarapi manasam yasya deva munindraha no vidyus tattvarupam kimu punarapare Krishna tasmai namaste.
यो वाचां दूर दूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपरे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते. यो वाचां दूर दूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपरे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
यो वाचां दूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपरे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते. यो वाचां दूरे पुनरपि मनसां यस्य देवा मुनीन्द्राः नो विद्युस्तत्त्वरूपं किमु पुनरपरे कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
Stanza 2. That's a question. Janmatho karma nama sphutamiha gunadoshadikam vanayasmin lokanamutaye yaha swayamanubhajate tani mayanusari bibhrachatira rupopi cha bahutara rupo vabhadyadbhudatma tasmai kaivalya dhamne pararasa paripurnaya Vishno namaste. She says, for you, there is no birth, there is no beginning, there is no death, there is no ending as well. Nor do you have any of the activities, right? Any activities that acts that people do. You are not bound by any of those things. But however, but you do come. So you do, we say, okay, avataram happens. And then we say, then the Lord goes back. So he says, but you do these things. And then also you come and take birth. And then you do these activities, but you do it solely for lokanam, only for the benefit of people, only for the benefit of your subjects. You do come and then you do leave and then you do perform some activities solely for that purpose, but you're not bound by any of those things like others are. And then also he says that you don't have any form, right? I think we discussed again in the first chapter also, right? He says you don't have any form, but however you do take form. So you do project your form, right, in the various ways, and people don't realize it because of your maya. They're completely blinded by ignorance, so they think that you do have a form, but in reality you don't have any form. So oh, that Vishnu who is supreme bliss, paripurnaya, who is the supreme bliss himself, oh Vishnu, namaste to you. So janmatho karma nama sphutamiha, comma, guna doshadikam va na yasmin, comma, lokanam utaye, if you want to break it, lokanam utaye yaha, comma, swayam anubhajate tani mayanusari. Janmatho karma nama sphutamiha gunadoshadikam va na yasmin लोकानामूतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी.
जन्माथो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिकं वा न यस्मिन् लोकानामूतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी. जन्माथो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिकं वा न यस्मिन् लोकानामूयते यः लोकानामूतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि मायानुसारी.
जन्माथो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिकं वा न यस्मिन् लोकानामूतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि तानि मायानुसारे
Prabha, and the yaha kapram, there's a comma out, right? Second line. Okay.
जन्माथो कर्म नाम स्फुटमिह गुणदोषादिकं वा न यस्मिन् लोकानामूतये यः स्वयमनुभजते तानि मायानुसारे.
And first line also, the comma is after sputam iha. Adukapram. Okay, not after nama. Okay.
Okay.
Bibhrat Chatir Arupopi. If you want to break it, that's word, you can't break it too much. So the R is the only place you can break it. So B Braj, Brach, each sound. Chatir Arupopi, cha, comma. Bahutara Rupova Bhatyat Bhudatma. So Bahutara Rupova Bhatyat Adbhutatma, but you don't have to necessarily break it that way. So Bahutara Rupova Bhatyat Bhudatma together. So comma. Tasmai Kaivalya Dhamne, comma. Para Rasa Paripurnaya Vishnu Namaste. On the third line, unfortunately, you can't break it too much. So Bibhrachattira Rupopi cha Bahutara Rupova Bhatyadbhutatma Tasmai Kaivalya Dhamne Pararasa Paripurnaya Vishnu Namaste.
विभ्रच्चक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यदाम्ने पररसपरिपूर्णाय कृष्णो नमस्ते.
Vishnu Namaste.
विष्णो नमस्ते. विभ्रच्चक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररस परिपूर्णाय विष्णु नमस्ते.
बिभ्रच्चक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररसपरिपूर्णाय विष्णो नमस्ते. बिभ्रच्चक्तिररूपोऽपि च बहुतररूपो वभात्यद्भुतात्मा तस्मै कैवल्यधाम्ने पररसपरिपूर्णाय विष्णु नमस्ते.
And the third line, just remember Adbhutam, right? Wonderful nature. So Adbhutam, this one, that's Rupova Bhatyadbhutatma. Okay. Stanza 3. No tiryanchannamartyam nachasuram asuram nastriyam no pumamsam na dravyam karma jatim gunamapi satasatvapi te rupamahu shishtam yatsya nishedhe sati nigamashatair lakshana vrittitastate krichrena vedyamanam paramasukhamayam bhati tasmai namaste. So it's like, when we were learning math, right? In India, 9th and 10th grade, there was this concept. I forgot what the concept name is, but essentially you say this, and then you say 1 minus everything of that is what is left, right? So kind of I don't know what.
Mathematical induction?
Maybe that could be the name, but you say essentially 1 minus that. So you don't know what it is, but you say, I know everything I know. Then you say 1 minus whatever I know is what is left, right? So Adimartha India, he says that, see, you don't have a form of Tiryanchanna Martim. You don't have a form of a bird. You don't have the form of an animal. Nacha Suram nor Asuram. So you say neither of a god or of a demon. Nastriyam no Pumamsam, not of a man or of a woman. You are not dravyam, means you are not anything which is substance, something which is substantiated, right? Or karma, or something which is like something which can be acted on, or something which does things, either that. So when you kind of say all of these things or any of the attributes, right? So he says, okay, then how do you define? So then they say that you cannot define. So the only way it says is we can keep telling what you are not, right? And then be eliminating everything that you are not. It's whatever is left, is implied to be that, and that which is implied is you, right? That's what it says. So another way of, that's a complicated way, but I'll tell you in a very simple logical way, right? So there is something called, like, I think I must have mentioned this in the first chapter, so it might be a repeat, but it's okay. So they say, one is we are all bound by karma. If we are not bound by karma, we cannot be here. So we have some sanchita karma that we carried over for this janma. So that means we are now bound by it. So now, if you are bound by it, that's what is forcing you to act. So number one, we know that anything which is God or anybody who is God is not bound by that. He's not bound by a karma, because then he has to act. So that is number one. Two is jnanatvam, which means knowledge. Like, yesterday you knew something, yesterday you didn't know, today you know something, tomorrow you may know something. So our knowledge is a point in time knowledge. So anybody who's a God cannot be a point in time knowledge, right? It has to be all the knowledge all the time. That's number two. Third is anantatvam, is location, right? We said today I'm here. I was actually in Florida yesterday. So, but we might be in different places in different time. So the God cannot be that way. He has to be everywhere, omnipresent. So he's not this. Then this fourth is anandatvam, which is happiness, right? So you're happy when something happens, and then your happiness goes away when that something is taken away. So somebody who's not a godless cannot be bound by something to define happiness. It has to be a continuous bliss. So it is that. And then the last is amalatvam, which is fault. We all have multiple faults, but at least we have one fault. So somebody who's God cannot be that. So I think the way it is defined is, you have all these attributes that we define, and anybody who has his attributes cannot be the supreme person. So the supreme person is the one who doesn't have these attributes. So that is that whole 1 minus equation. That is explained in another way, but that's what he's saying here. So whatever is left, which we cannot describe, so that you, Parama Sukhamayam, who is always in a state of continuous bliss, to that you, Tasmai Namaste. So no tiryanchanna, okay? No tiryanchanna martyam, comma, nacha suram asuram, comma, na striyam no pumamsam, comma, na dravyam karma jatim, comma, gunamapi sadasat vapite rupamahuhu. No tiryanchanna martyam, nacha suram asuram, na striyam no pumamsam, na dravyam karma jatim, gunamapi sadasat vapite rupamahuhu.
No tiryancham namartyam, nacha suram na striyam no pumamsam, na dravyam karma jatim, gunamapi sadasadvapite rupamahuhu. No tiryancham namartyam.
Channa, Vikram, and the double na. Yeah. Tiryanchanna.
No tiryanchan namartyam.
Yeah, correct.
No tiryanchan namartyam, nacha suram asuram, na striyam no pumamsam, na dravyam karma jatim, gunamapi sadasadvapite rupamahuhu.
No tiryanchanna martyam, nacha suramasuram, na striyam no pumamsam, na dravyam karma jatim, gunamapi sadasadvapite rupamahuhu. No tiryanchanna mrityam,
Martyam.
No tiryanchanna martyam, nacha suramasuram, na striyam no pumamsam, na dravyam karma jatim, gunamapi sadasadvapite rupamahuhu.
Shishtam yat syan nishedhe sati, comma, nigama shatair lakshana vrittitas, that word is together, lakshana vrittitas tat, comma, krichrena, the cha with the r underneath, chra with the a on top, so chre. Okay, so CHRE maybe, chre. So krichrena vedyamanam, comma, parama sukhamayam bhati tasmai namaste. Shishtam yasya nishedhe sati nigama shatair lakshana vrittitas tat, krichrena vedyamanam parama sukhamayam bhati tasmai namaste.
शिष्टं यत् स्याद् निषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणात् वृत्तितस्तत् कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते। शिष्टं यत्स्या निषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणा वृत्तितस्तत् कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते।
शिष्टं यत्स्यान्निषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणावृतैस्तत्
वृत्तितस्
निगमशतैर्लक्षणावृत्तितस्तत् कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते। शिष्टं यत्स्यान्निषेधे सति निगमशतैर्लक्षणावृत्तितस्तत् वृत्तितस्तत् कृच्छ्रेणावेद्यमानं परमसुखमयं भाति तस्मै नमस्ते। ஒரு क्वेश्चन, फोर्थ लाइनல காமா வருமா, थर्ड லைன் முடிஞ்சது கிருச்ரேணா
வேத்யமானம். அதுக்கப்புறம் கிருஷ்ணா வேத்யமானம் is already in the fourth line, at least in my book.
Oh, fourth line, right.
Yeah. So after that, after vedyamanam, there's a comma.
Okay.
Stanza 4. Mayayam bimbitastvam srijati mahadahankara tanmatra bhedaihi bhuta gramendriyadhyairapi sakala jagat swapna sankalpa kalpam bhuyas sankhritya sarvam kamatha iva padhanyatmana kala shaktya gambhire jayamane tamasi vitimiro bhasi tasmai namaste. So if you're not any of these things, and you are all of these things as well to some extent, right? So then how do all these things happen, right? So here this again goes back to the Kapilopakyanam, which we did in the 15th chapter, right? And that's where you'll see all of those words repeating here. Mahada, what is it? Prakriti mahadahankara tanmatra bhedaihi bhuta gram. That word, same thing is coming here, which says that although you are the Purusha, which is absolutely no connection, not bound by anything, right? So that Prakriti was the other one, which had all the attributes, right? Which we had Mahat, Ahankaram, the Tanmatram, all of the attributes, all the senses, the action, the Karmendriyangal, Jnanendriyangal, all those things, which are 24 things we saw, that's right, in the 15th chapter. So he says, because of all of those things, all these various shapes and all these various forms, and all these things are happening. So he says all of this is just like how, if you think of a tortoise, he's giving the example of a kamata, which is a tortoise. He says when the tortoise opens its legs, right, from the shell, suddenly all the legs come up. So he says similarly the entire universe is getting created, but over a period of time the tortoise pulls everything back into the shell. So now suddenly the legs are gone, right? But the legs are all there, it is all inside the shell. So he says similarly you are there as Brahman, you then decide to manifest in all these forms. So suddenly it looks like all of these things are there. Then when time happens, you then bring everything back into yourself, and there's nothing but just you. So he says to that you, my namaskarams, it says. But the summary of this is same thing as what we learned in that 15th chapter. So mayayam bimbitastvam, srijasi mahadahankara. So it's mahat and ahankara, but you say it together, mahadahankara tanmatra bhedaihi. Put a visarga there and a comma. Bhedaihi. Next line on top of that bhu, there is a ir. You can remove that. Bhuta gramendriyadhyairapi. Bhuta gramendriyadhyairapi, comma. Sakala jagat swapna sankalpa kalpam. He says all of these things are projected like as if it's a swapnam, it's a dream, and more of that will come later. So I'll hold off on that. Mayayam bimbitastvam srijasi mahadahankara tanmatra bhedaihi bhuta gramendriyadhyairapi sakala jagat swapna sankalpa kalpam.
मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कार तन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पम् मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कार तन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पम्
मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कार तन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पम् मायायां बिम्बितस्त्वं सृजसि महदहङ्कार तन्मात्रभेदैः भूतग्रामेन्द्रियाद्यैरपि सकलजगत्स्वप्नसङ्कल्पकल्पम्
Bhuyaha, put a yes, bhuyas samhritya sarvam, comma, kamatha iva padan yatmana, that's one word, padan yatmana kala shaktya, comma, gambhire jayamane tamasi vitimiro, comma, bhasi tasmai namaste. Bhuyas samhritya sarvam kamatha iva padan yatmana kala shaktya गंभीरे जायमाने तमसि वितिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते
भूयः संहृत्य सर्वं कमठ इव पदान्यात्मना कालशक्त्या गंभीरे जायमाने तमसि वितिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते भूयः संहृत्य सर्वं कमठ इव पदान्यात्मना कालशक्त्या गंभीरे जायमाने तमसि वितिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते
भूयः संहृत्या सर्वं कमठ इव पदान्यात्मना कालशक्त्या गंभीरे जायमाने तमसि वितिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते भूयः संहृत्या सर्वं
samhritya, I think you're saying samhritya, you're saying samhritya.
भूयः संहृत्य सर्वं कमठ इव पदान्यात्मना कालशक्त्या गंभीरे जायमाने तमसि वितिमिरो भासि तस्मै नमस्ते.
Okay, we'll switch now. I think Kannan and Radha, right? Okay. Stanza 5. Shabda brahmeti karmeti bhagavan kalayidhyalapanti tvamekam vishwahetum sakalamayataya sarvata kalpyamanam vedantairyattu geetam purusha parachidatmabhidam tattu tattvam preksha matrena moola prakriti vikriti krit krishna tasmai namaste. Says again, continuing that, it says Tvam Ekam Vishwahe. So the purpose, the existence of the universe is Tvam Ekam. It's only because of you. There's no other cause, there's no other reason, there's nobody else behind you. And here initially he starts you is meaning the Brahman, and later on he'll come and tie it with Krishna. So he says because of the Brahman is the sole purpose, sole source of the entire of the universe, including each anu, each atom that exists in the universe is also because of you. The pranava mantra om, which is the original sound, is also because of you, is also you. And kala, even the time, is also you. So everything is completely you, and there's nothing that is not you, right? So in this way, he says, in every conceivable way, the Vedas have been defining you, and they call you the Purusha Parachit. So Purusha, we already spoke last time. So the Purusha is that the one who is not bound by anything, Purusha. Then Para is it's like a superlative degree, supreme being, right? Paramatma, we are saying, right? So it means a supreme being. And Chit, which is pure consciousness, and Atma, and you're also the Atma of everything. So all this is how the Vedas describe you. However, he says Krishna Tasmai Namaste, to that Krishna, because according to Bhattaripat, that Brahman is Krishna. So to that Brahman, who is the source of everything in the universe, to that Krishna, my Namaste. Shabda Brahmeti Karmetyanuriti. So because it's got karma, anu and everything, so it's Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan, comma, Kala Ityalapanti, comma, Twamekam Vishwahetum, comma, Sakala Mayataya Sarvata Kalpyamanam. Shabda Brahmeti Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan Kalayityalapanti Twamekam Vishwahetum Sakalamayataya Sarvata Kalpyamanam.
Shabda Brahmeti Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan Kalayithyalapanti Twamekam Vishwahetum Sakalamayataya Sarvata Kalpyamanam. Shabda Brahmeti Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan Kalayithyalapanti Twamekam Vishwahetum Sakalamayataya Sarvatha Kalpyamanam.
Shabda Brahmedi Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan Kala Ityalapandi Tvamekam Vishwahetum Sakalamayataya Sarvatha Kalpyamanam. Shabda Brahmedi Karmetyanuriti Bhagavan Kala Ityalapandi Tvamekam Vishwahetum Sakalamayataya Sarvadha Kalpyamanam.
Vedantair Yattu Geetam, comma, Purusha Para Chidatmabhidam, because it's Chit and Atma coming together. So Purusha Para Chidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam, double the coming in both the words, Tattu Tattvam, comma, Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Krit, comma, Krishna Tasmai Namaste. Vedantair Geetam Purusha Parachidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Krit Krishna Tasmai Namaste.
Vedantair Yattu Geetam Purusha Parachidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Krit Krishna Tasmai Namaste.
And then the third line, the Chidat Mabhidam, this is an extra, it's a Mabhidam, third line, Purusha Parachidat Mabhidam.
Vedantair Yattu Geetam Purusha Parachidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Krit Krishna Tasmai Namaste.
Vedandairyattu Geetam Purusha Parachidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Krit Krishna Tasmai Namaste. Vedandairyattu Geetam Purusha Parachidatmabhidam Tattu Tattvam Preksha Matrena Moola Prakriti Vikriti Krit Krishna Tasmai Namaste.
Stanza 6. Satvena Sattayava Nacha Khalu Sada Satvena Nirvachya Rupa Dhatte Yasava Vidya Guna Phanimati Vad Vishwadrishyava Bhasam Vidyatvam Saiva Yata Shruti Vachana Lavaihi Yat Kripaasyandalabhe Samsararanya Sadhyastrutana Parashutameti Tasmai Namaste. So he says first he defines the so the reason he says we are able to see whatever we are seeing is because of this avidya, which means ignorance, right? So now here it starts off by saying that ignorance, you can't say you are ignorant, nor can you say you are not ignorant. Because if you say, yeah, I am ignorant, then you are smart enough to know that you are ignorant, right? So you can't say you are ignorant. But you can't say I'm not ignorant, because that means you know everything, which is also not true. So you say you can't say, so you can't say you're ignorant, you can't say you are not ignorant, you can't say you're both either. So he says, but whatever you are, that is because of which you are able to think of these things as existing. So now how does that go away? So how that avidya go away is that avidya becomes vidya when you learn things, when you get knowledge, that is one, that is you learn, get knowledge, jnanam from the Vedas. So then you'll get actual understanding of what's happening, and that's one way. Or it says because of the grace from you, your blessings. So when the blessings of yours flows as if like a river is flowing, and the continuous grace of yours comes, then that's another way by which this avidya goes away. And this is as if it is some, like you take like an axe and you cut the forest. It says samsararanya, the forest of samsara in which we are all bound. That entire thing gets chopped, entire thing gets cut by like an axe. That forest gets chopped either by you understanding the knowledge and then you get vidya, or you get the blessings of the God which flows continuously like a river. So either of those will help you eliminate that and get you away from that. So to that Krishna, tasmai namaste. So satvena satta, double ta, satvena satta yava, comma, na cha khalu sadasatvena nirvachya rupa, comma, dhatte yasava vidya, comma, guna phani mati vad vishwa drishyavabhasam. Guna phani mati vad vishwa drishyavabhasam. So he says, just like how when you look at a rope at night, you're there and then you see a curled rope, you may think of it as a snake, right? So, but it is not at this point, and it will continue later. But right now, you're looking at the rope and you're saying it's a snake. It's a snake. That's what you think it is. Just like how when you're driving in Nevada and then you see the mirage effect and then there is water on the road and you think there is water. Similarly, it says right now, because of the ignorance, you think all of this is real and all of these things are existing. So, satvena sattayava na cha khalu sadasatvena nirvachya rupa dhatte yasava vidya guna phanimati vad vishwadrishyavabhasam.
Satvena sattayava nacha kalu sadasatvena nirvachya rupa datte yasava vidya gunapani mati vad vishwa drishyavabhasam. Satvena sattayava nacha kalu sadasatvena nirvachya rupa datte yasava vidya guna phanimati vad vishwa drishyavabhasam.
Satvena sattayava na cha khalu sadasatvena nirvachya rupa datte yasava vidya guna bhanimati vat vishwadrishyavabhasam. Satvena sattayava na cha khalu sadasatvena nirvachya rupa datte yasava vidya guna bhanimati vat vishwadrishyavabhasam.
Vidyatvam saiva yata shruti vachana lavaihi. So put a visarga there after lavaihi and then a comma. Then on top of that ya there is a ir, so remove that. Yat kripa syanda labhe, comma, samsararanya, together, samsararanya sadyas trutana parashutham eti tasmai namaste. So that line comes together. Parashu is the axe, like Parashurama we are saying this. So parashutham eti tasmai namaste. Vidyatvam saiva yata shruti vachana lavaihi yat kripasyanda labhe samsararanya sadhyastrutana parashutameti tasmai namaste.
Vidyatvam saiva yata shruti vachana lavaihi yat kripasyanda labhe samsararanya sadhyastrutana parashutameti tasmai namaste. Vidyatvam saiva yata shruti vachana lavaihi yat kripasyanda labhe samsararanya sadhyastrutana parashutameti tasmai namaste.
विद्यात्वं सैव याता श्रुतिवचलनवैः यत्कृपास्यन्दलाभे संसारारण्यसद्यस्तृडन परशुतामेदि तस्मै नमस्ते विद्यात्वं सैव याता श्रुतिवचलनवैः
Sorry, so one comment. Shruti Vachana Lavaihi.
विद्यात्वं सैव याता श्रुतिवचनलवैः यत्कृपास्यन्दलाभे संसारारण्यसद्यस्तृडन परशुतामेति तस्मै नमस्ते
Stanza 7. Bhusha susvarnavadva jagati ghatashara mrittikavate tatve sancintyamane spurati tadadunapyadvitiyam vapuste swapna drashtuh prabhode timiralaya vidhau jirnarajjoscha yadvade vidya labhe tathaiva sputamapi vikaset krishna tasmai namaste. So he says, when you buy gold ornaments, when you buy from Lalita Jewelry or Kalyan Jewelers, you buy all the gold ornaments. It says at the end of the day, while it may all look different, at the root of it, it is still gold. Because when you melt it, you get gold. Similarly, when you go take all these clay pots that he says ghatam, and you look at all the clay pots that you see, each of them have various designs and everything, but when you break it and you put water, at the end of it, it's clay. So he says, similarly, right now when you're looking at it, everything looks different to you. But at the end of the day, just like how there is only gold in all these ornaments, and just like this clay in all of these pots that you're seeing, in all of these, it's advitiyam. It is not two. It is only one. Right? So dvitiyam means two, advitiyam means it's only one, not two. So he says when you look at it, you are separating the Brahman and everything else you're seeing, but the root of it is advitiyam. It is only one, and that's only Brahman. And how you'll realize it, like we said earlier, just like how when knowledge comes, and in the previous stanza, what you thought of was snake. Now you take a light and you shine the light on it, and now that snake is not snake, it is actually a rope. Right? So similarly, when you get that knowledge and the light shines on you, and then you realize what the truth is, then you'll realize this Advitiyam philosophy. That's what he says. But anyway, he says, Krishna, Tasmai Namaste. To that Krishna, he says, he also comes back and says it's Krishna at the end of the day, right? The Brahman. So there is one story, you probably might have heard of it. There was a very rich king. And one day he then comes to his court and says that, I had this dream yesterday, that there's a war, I lost the war, and I got completely all my wealth was taken away, and then I'm walking down the streets of this kingdom with absolutely nothing. I'm like as if I'm a beggar. I'm wearing all these tattered clothes and I'm walking, and then I keep going and begging, and then I see a lady there. I go beg for water from that lady, and that lady comes and she gives me a water in some some wooden vessel, and when I'm about to drink, a crow comes and knocks even that water down, and that water is spilled on the floor, and then I'm drinking water from the floor, right? And then he says I was in such a stress, right? And then he wakes up and suddenly he says that I'm then he realizes he's lying in his bed, right? So he says, he goes and asks the court that it was so true, the dream, that I could have promised you, I actually lived it, it actually happened. So he says, I don't know what is the truth. Is this the truth or is that truth, right? So that's what he comes and says. So there's that's a Hindi saying. So and that one of the wise person says, "Na ye sach, na wo sach, bas tu hi sach." It's a lesson Hindi thing, right? Saying neither that is true nor this is true, right? That's what it says. So similarly, it says you think it is all there, but it's very difficult to comprehend that it is not actually there. Anyway, so bhushasu swarna vadva, comma jagati ghata sharavadike mrittikavat, put it at the end of it, mrittikavat, comma. Next line, you'll have two tas at the beginning, so you can knock off one of the ta. Tatve sancintyamane, comma, spurati. The next word, the best way to break it would be tat adhunapya dvitiyam. That would be the tadadunap is there, right? You can say it together, but you'll find it tough to say it tadadunap, right? So if you want to do it, you can break it and say tat adhunapya dvitiyam vapuste. भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति घटशरावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तदनुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुस्ते
भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति घटसारवादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तदधुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुस्ते भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति घटशरावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तदधुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुस्ते
भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति खडशरावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तत् अधुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुस्ते भूषासु स्वर्णवद्वा जगति खडशरावादिके मृत्तिकावत् तत्त्वे सञ्चिन्त्यमाने स्फुरति तत् अधुनाप्यद्वितीयं वपुस्ते
स्वप्न द्रष्टुः is there, put a if f sound, drashtuh prabodhe comma timira laya bidau jeerna rajjoscha yadvath, put a it at the end of that line, yadvath comma next line the dvi that you have, make it a v, vidya labhe tathaiva comma sputamapi vikaset krishna tasmai namaste. स्वप्न द्रष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलय विधौ जीर्ण रज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तथैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
स्वप्न द्रष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलय विधौ जीर्ण रज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तथैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते. स्वप्न द्रष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलय विधौ जीर्ण रज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तथैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
स्वप्नदृष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलय विधौ जीर्ण रज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तदैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते. स्वप्नदृष्टुः प्रबोधे तिमिरलय विधौ जीर्ण रज्जोश्च यद्वत् विद्यालाभे तदैव स्फुटमपि विकसेत् कृष्ण तस्मै नमस्ते.
Stanza 8. यद्भीत्योदेति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो वाति वायुस्तधान्ये यद्भीताः पद्मजाध्याः पुनरुचितबलीनाहरन्तेऽनुकालं येनैवारोपिताः प्राङ् निजपदमपि ते च्या वितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम्. So some of these are taken from the Taittiriya Upanishads. 99 the chapter, everything is completely from the Vedas essence, but here also it says the same thing, that it's because of you that Deti Surya, the sun is acting, sun is able to give energy. Dahati cha dahano, the fire is able to burn and give energy. Vati Vayuhu, the air is able to be there, right? And Brahma and whoever else is doing all their necessary responsibilities are brought up to their positions to do their respective duties. And they're doing all their respective duties. And even for them, when the time comes, they eventually all have to give it up and eventually come back to you, right? And then you know they all lose their positions and eventually come back to you at the appropriate time as well. So to you, who is the Vishwam Niyantre, the one who is the controller of the whole world, O Krishna, to you, Kurma Pranamam, my salutations to you. Yat bhityo deti suryo, comma, dahati cha dahano, comma, vati vayus tathanye, comma. So we'll comma after each of those things. Yat bhitaha is there, put a F sound. Bhitah padmajadhyaha, padmajadhyaha, comma. Padmajatya is one who's come from lotus, which is Brahma here. Puna ruchita balin aharantenu kalam, or balin aharante, you can say it together as well. Balin aharantenu kalam. Yad bhityo deti suryo dahati cha dahano bhati vayus tathanye yad bhitah padmajadhyah punaruchita balin aharantenu kalam.
यद बीत्यो देति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो वाति वायुस्तथान्ये यद बीताः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचित बलिनाहरन्तेनु कालम् यद बीत्यो देति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो वाति वायुस्तथान्ये यद बीताः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचित बलिनाहरन्तेनु कालम्
यद्भीत्यो देति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो वाति वायुस्तधान्ये यद्भीताः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचित बलिनाहरन्तेनु कालम् यद्भीत्यो देति सूर्यो दहति च दहनो वाति वायुस्तधान्ये यद्भीताः पद्मजाद्याः पुनरुचित बलिनाहरन्तेनु कालम्
muted இருக்கு.
Oh, sorry. Yenai varopitaha, comma, prang nija padam apite, comma, chya ich and a ya, chya vitarascha paschat, comma. So again, 3 commas happening there after pitaha, prang nija padam apite, comma, chya vitarascha paschat, comma, tasmai vishwam niyantre, comma, vayamapi bhavate krishna kurmaha, put a F on, kurmah pranamam. Yenhai varopitaha prang nijapadamapi te chya vitarascha paschat tasmai vishwam niyantre vayamapi bhavate krishna kurmah pranamam.
येनैव रोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते चावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्णः कुर्मः प्रणामम् येनैव रोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते चावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्णः कुर्मः प्रणामम्
येनैवारोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते च्यावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम् येनैवारोपिताः प्राङ्निजपदमपि ते च्यावितारश्च पश्चात् तस्मै विश्वं नियन्त्रे वयमपि भवते कृष्ण कुर्मः प्रणामम्.
Stanza 9. Trailokyam bhavayantam trigunamayamidham traksharasyaikavachyam trishanamaikya-rupam tribirapi nigamaihi giyamanaswarupam tisro vastavidantam triyugajanijusham trikramakranta vishwam traikalye bhedahinam tribirahamanisham yoga bhedair bhaje tvam. So this has a lot of 3 coming there, or tra and 3 coming there, because Bhattripad, being a poet, is now playing with his words here, right? So he says that You Trilokyam. So you created the three worlds, the physical worlds, the worlds where the gods are, and then worlds with the three, out of the 14 worlds is divided into three, right? So you created the three worlds. Then gunam, the three gunas. So sattva, rajas, tama, guna. So the three gunas you created. Then trakshara seika vachyam. So the word which is formed by three letters. So AUM, right? So the pranava mantram. So you are that word which is formed by the three letters. And Trishanam Aikya Rupam. So the three Ishas who are there, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all of them are combined into one Rupam, and that Rupam is you. So Trishanam Aikya Rupam. Tribirapi Nigamaihi. Nigama means the Veda. So the three Vedas. So there are only three. Atharvana Veda is a combination of all this. So the three Vedas are singing your praise. Argiyamanaha. The three Vedas are singing your praise. And then there are three states, right? So there is a state where you are awake. Then there is a state where you are in deep sleep, which means you don't remember anything. And there's a state which is a dream state, like we said, where you think you know things, but something is happening, but you're not fully asleep, right? So the three states are there. But however, while we have three states, you are there constant among all those three states. For us, each of those states are different, but just for you, you are consistent or constant across all the three states. Three yuga janijusham. So you have been born, in all the yugas, right? That have been born taking incarnation in all the three yugas so far, right? And then Trikram Akrants, with three kramas, in three footsteps, you conquered the whole world. So as when Bali Maharaja says, Vamana Avataram, so in three steps you conquered. Then Traikalye, so you remain unchanged in the past, present, and the future, just like how the sleep and awake state is there. Similarly, past, present, and future, nothing changes for you. You remain unchanged. And may I yoga bhedai bhaje tvam tribihi. So may I worship you or pray to you through the three modes of yoga, right? So jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, and karma yoga. May I pray to you through all those three modes of yoga. That's what Bhattrapad ends that thing with. So essentially, he's kind of combining all the things which are three to here. So Trilokyam bhavayantam trigunam ayam idam, comma, Traksharasyeka vachyam. So you can't break that. Traksharasyeka vachyam, comma, Trishanam aikya rupam tribirapi nigamaihi. Put a visarga there after nigamai and then a comma. Next, on top of the gi, if you have a visarga, you can remove that. Giyamana swarupam. Trilokyam bhavayantam trigunamayamidham Traksharasyekavachyam Trishanam Aikyarupam Tribirapi Nigamaihi Giyamana Swarupam.
Trilokyam bhavayantam trigunamayamidam Traksharasyekavachyam Trishanamaikya-rupam Tribirapi Nigamaihi Giyamana Swarupam. Trilokyam bhavayantam trigunamayamidam Traksharasyekavachyam Trishanamaikya-rupam Tribirapi Nigamaihi Giyamana Swarupam.
Trilokyam bhavayantam trigunamayamidam Traksharasyekavachyam Trishanamaikya-rupam Tribhirapi Nigamaihi Giyamana Swarupam. Trilokyam bhavayantam trigunamayamidam Traksharasyekavachyam Trishanamaikya-rupam Tribhirapi Nigamaihi Giyamana Swarupam.
Tisro Vasta Vidantam Triyuga Jani Jusham, comma, Trikram Akranta Vishwam, comma, Traikalye Bhedahinam Tribiraham Anisham, comma, Yoga Bhedair Bhaje Twam. So Kanan and Radha just said one time. We're out of time today. So Tisro Vasta Vidhantam Triyuga Janijusham Trikramakranta Vishwam Traikalye Bhedahinam Trivirahamanisham Yoga Bhedair Bhaje Twam.
तिस्रो वक्ताभिदन्तं त्रयुगज
Triyuga.
तिस्रो वक्ताभिदन्तं त्रियुग जनिजुषं त्रिक्रमाक्रान्त विश्वं त्रैलोक्ये भेदहीन त्रैकाल्ये भेदहीनं त्रिभिरहमनिशं योगभेदैर्भजे त्वाम्
त्रिस्तोवस्ताविदन्तं त्रियुगजनिजुषं त्रिक्रमाक्रान्तविश्वं त्रैलोक्ये भेदहीनं त्रिभिरमहमनिशं योगभेदैर्भजे त्वाम्.
Rather than the last time, Traikalye, first word.
ഒരു വാട്ടി കൂടി ചൊല്ലേ. तिस्रोवस्ताविदन्तं त्रियुगजनिजुषं त्रिक्रमाक्रान्तविश्वं त्रैकाल्ये भेदहीनं त्रिभिरमहमनिशं.
No. Another word, 1 second. Tribiraham Anisham.
त्रैकाल्ये भेदहीनं त्रिभिरमहमनिशं.
No, you're putting an extra ma in the beginning. Tribiraham. Tribiraham.
त्रैकाल्ये भेदहीनं त्रिभिरहमनिशं.
Yeah, correct.
योगभेदैर्भजे त्वाम्.
Yeah, you got it. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam कालदेशावदेभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you everyone.